Greetings to all. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, where you are watching us from. On behalf of the International Pharmaceutical Federation, FIP, and the Global Pharmaceutical Observatory, GPO, I extend a warm welcome to everyone, to those who joined live, and to those who will be watching this later. We're pleased to be delivering this regional digital event as part of the FIP GPO program entitled How Can Digital Health Support National Pharmaceutical Care Delivery? Next, yes. I myself, Samira Shammas, a pharmacist from Jordan. I'm also the Vice President at FIP and the Liaison Coordinator for EMR. I'll be moderating this session along with my colleague, Meshkat Turkamanian, FIP Young Pharmacist Group, Early Career Regional Supporter, Eastern Mediterranean region. I have few announcements to make. This webinar is being recorded and live streamed via YouTube. The recording will be available on our website, events.fip.org. You may ask questions using the question box provided. You're welcome to provide feedback to webinars@fip.org. And by the end of this session, you will receive each one a certificate of attendance from FIP. By the end, if anyone is not still a member, we would welcome you all to be a member at FIP. Another announcement and acknowledgement. FIP would like to thank Pfizer and Partner for Better for supporting this multinational needs assessment program, including the regional webinar that we are conducting today with unrestricted funds. We also like to thank Hamza Hassan to acknowledge her services in the back, as well as the GPO team for the support in managing this event too. Anyone interested in question and answers, please use the chat box so we can come back later to you. And now I can handle the mic to our colleague, Farah Aqad. Farah Aqad is the FIP Regional Engagement, Support and Development Manager to go with us and explain about GPO mission and its functions related to the profession. Yes, Farah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Samira. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the event. So before we start with the event today, we have some introductory slides about the Global Pharmaceutical Observatory, and I will briefly walk you through these. The FIP Global Pharmaceutical Observatory, FIP GPO, is the engine room of global pharmaceutical data collection. The FIP GPO will measure, monitor progress towards the development goals, the FIP development goals. So one of the FIP development goals is DG20, which is digital health. And this program aligns to this FIP DG. The FIP Global Pharmaceutical Observatory's mission centers around the 4 circles that you can see on the screen: data, intelligence, advocacy, and reporting. We know the importance of data, and we know that for data to provide us with evidence and demonstrate impact, we will need data from our member organizations. So our first task is to collate valid global data on workforce in education, practice, and pharmaceutical science. We must undertake comprehensive analysis of the collated data to provide accessible, high-quality intelligence, and all of this must be communicated and advocated innovatively to promote our member organizations' impact on health. This communication will often be via the FIP Atlas, and the FIP Atlas is our visualization platform that displays our data and intelligence across the globe. Finally, we will provide evidence-based strategic information, reports, and guidance on the applications of pharmaceutical science, policies, practice, and services. If you can go on the next slide, you will see the work streams of the Global Pharmaceutical Observatory. So first, we have the Multinational Needs Assessment Program. We abbreviate this by MNAP, and today's event is part of this program. In this Multinational Needs Assessment Program, we will continue to take a tried and tested needs-based approach to address data and development goals challenges through the development of an inclusive DGs. Next, we have the FIP Global Pharmaceutical Observatory Atlas. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a platform for showcasing our members' needs and priorities, and it is supported by the data from the observatory. As an example, where we have data on intelligence on digital health, like today, we can display this afterwards using the visualization platform, the Atlas, and this will allow FIP and the member organizations in identifying opportunities for developing pharmacy with, for, and through our member organizations. Next, we have the Gpo Database. It is the repository for FIP's pharmacy and pharmaceutical science data. It contains data that inform the indicators used to track progress against the FIP development goals, and these include DG20, digital health. The FIP DGs provide the framework for needs assessments and prioritization for member organizations to undertake, and these are relevant to the national situation, of course. In turn, the priorities can provide each member organization with foundations for mapping the progress and the transformations for their workforce, practice, and pharmaceutical science elements. The indicators will be a way to measure and monitor progress and transformations for the workforce, practice, pharmaceutical science against the FIP development goals, again, via the data that we collect in the observatory. We also have the Data and Intelligence Commission, and the Data and Intelligence Commission provides strategic advice to FIP on the advocacy and the delivery of the GPO projects, focusing on achieving the vision and the strategic objectives through member engagement. On the last slide, you'll see the link of our newly launched microsite. You can A, scan the QR code, or B, visit the webpage that I will share in the chat box in a few minutes. Thank you for listening. I will hand it over to Mishkat now to give you a brief summary about this needs assessment program. Mishkat, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, my name is Mishkat Warkamanian. I'm a remote intern at FIP serving as FIP Young Pharmacist Group Early Career Regional Supporter. It's a new initiative to support the efforts of engagement with our members in the EMR. I work with my colleague Hamza, who is supporting us today in compiling summary notes from the discussion. I would like to acknowledge her efforts in this matter. Okay, I'll give you a quick introduction to this program. Substandard and falsified medicines, along with the lack of adherence to medication regimens, pose a threat to public health worldwide. It is possible to deliver pharmaceutical care services that address these challenges using digital healthcare techniques and approaches. Globally, digital health faces many challenges and concerns. Despite its potential to impact pharmaceutical care, now FIP and Global Pharmaceutical Observatory has launched this new needs assessment program entitled How Can Digital Health Support National Pharmaceutical Care Delivery? A regional and global assessment of priorities and challenges focusing on medication adherence and fighting substandard and falsified medicines. This regional and global needs assessment program will include a series of 6 regional events, culminating in a private global roundtable and a summary report. Today's regional event aims to facilitate a discussion to assess the ongoing initiatives, drivers, and challenges pharmaceutical leadership bodies and nations faces in integrating digital health into pharmaceutical patient care, with an emphasis on 2 themes: medication adherence, and fighting substandard and falsified medicine. I will now hand over to Samira to walk us through the event outline.
So far, we have started by setting the scene and introducing the program, which will now move to our discussion with national leaders from the region. As we mentioned, our event will be divided in 2 different themes, lasting a total of 30 minutes each. The first theme will focus on the integration of digital health into pharmaceutical care services to support medication adherence, while the second theme focuses on the use of digital health to combat substandard and falsified medicines. We will also have an activity between the themes to engage all of you attending. Our first theme for this event will be digital health to support patient medication adherence. And on behalf of all participants, I would like to welcome our 3 speakers from 3 different countries in the region, namely Dr. Saleh Hanash, Jordanian, from the Jordan Pharmacists Association. He's a pharmapreneur, founder of Adherence Consult. The second speaker would be Dr. Akbar Abdullah, Iranian Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists, Faculty of Pharmacy from Tehran University of Medical Sciences. And the third country coming from Saudi Arabia is Professor Ahmed El-Jidai, Saudi Society of Clinical Pharmacy, Ministry of Health, Assistant Deputy Minister of Medical Support. This session, it will be through posing questions, letting our speakers answer our questions if possible. The first one will deal with ongoing initiatives. Does your country or organization provide any digital health applications or interventions that facilitate medication adherence as part of the pharmaceutical care services? If yes, can you provide an example? And let's say, Dr. Saleh, can you start your answer back?
Thank you so much, Dr. Samira. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon for everyone all over the world. Thank you for letting us joining this session. All protocols and titles are observed. Regarding the first question, if we are talking about Jordan and in our region, maybe we are starting the part of the digitization, if I may say, in the pharmaceutical healthcare sector. But regarding the medical adherence, till now in Jordan, we don't have a full application or a full platform that is supporting this main idea. Despite that, we are moving ahead in the digitization in the pharmaceutical field in Jordan. We have many successful, let's say, initiatives. Many successful ones also went regionally, and part of them went also to Gulf, but many of them were successful, but unfortunately died. If we are what we were discussing yesterday about the medical adherence per se, unfortunately, there is nothing direct for the medical adherence, like giving notifications for the patients, like SMS or let's say any part of like online counseling or etc. But if it is there, it will be like part of integrated in some of the applications that is present, which is medical applications, not per se pharmaceutical as it is. However, if I may say, because I'm working in the entrepreneurship field and I'm part of the ecosystem in all Jordan, managing many of the incubators and accelerators, we had a lot of ideas that comes every, let's say, month, trying to tackle this area. So we are optimistic that there will be an initiatives 100%. However, it should stay and at least stay alive to serve the largest number of our patients in Jordan. That's briefly about our situation in our country.
Thank you, Saleh. You mentioned some initiatives. Can you pinpoint one initiative in that direction?
Okay, I would not like to
it doesn't
commercialize
deal.
it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What about Professor Akbar? What's happening in Iran? Can you unmute? Yes.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon and good morning. I think in Iran, the problem is there are too many of applications, and maybe this is a complication for a patient to select many of them and between of them, because maybe some years ago, some governmental organization promote application in digital health, and many of young people started some startups that work on e-health application. Many of them promote health, promote medication, drug information on a small application. And at the present time, some big marketplace, such as some applications similar to Uber and similar to maybe Amazon, there are some local application in their field. There are the big marketplace. They started e-health, and they even deliver some goods. They deliver some information to patient, and there are some small applications that work on special disease such as MS, hemophilia, thalassemia, and so on. They control the medication of the patients. But I think they are in the first step, and we need some experience to have a good adherence for the patients.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar. And now we go to our third country in Saudi Arabia. How about Professor Ahmed?
Thank you, Dr. Samira. I would like to thank you for hosting me today. I would like to welcome everybody. So in Saudi Arabia, we looked at it, we looked at the roots of patient adherence issues, not only related to medications, but to therapy in general, which includes monitoring, follow-up with their appointments, labs, and others. And we identified multiple factors, in fact, and we wanted to address all these factors in a digital platform as much as possible. So as you know, addressing one factor for medication adherence, let's say forgetfulness, might not address the whole adherence issue around the continuum of care. So you might end up having multiple patients with multiple factors that a certain strategy or intervention might work for one, but doesn't work for another. And as you all know, the risk factors for medication adherence range from, patient-related, condition-related, medication-related, environment, socioeconomic, and many, many other factors. And there is no way that you can have one solution that fits all and addresses all of these aspects. So basically in Saudi Arabia, we have multiple ways of doing it. Saudi FDA, for example, has an application called Tamminni, which means in English, assure me. This application has two main functions. Number one is it ensures that the patient gets information about their medications by scanning the barcode on the medication. Second, it actually helps them reach out to the nearest pharmacy based on their location so that they can get their medication refilled. On the other hand, we have multiple healthcare systems in Saudi Arabia where they developed an all-in app for the, it's like a small mini medical electronic medical record for the patient, where they can view their medications, they can view their labs, their radiology results, and their appointments, and many others. And within the medication part, they can look at the instructions, more information about their medications, the image of their medications, and all of this in an effort to help the patient understand more about their medications in order to improve adherence. But on the other hand, we have some non-governmental organizations, mainly societies and non-profit organizations, where they started releasing free apps for improving the patient adherence. This ranges between reminders, electronic reminders, if you put all of your medications, to newer ideas where you can share your medication profile with a close friend or a family member, and they will get the notification if you do not take your medications, and make sure that you approve or okay the medication reminder that you took the medication. So there are multiple digital solutions that are in-house here in Saudi Arabia. But again, unless we address all factors for medication adherence, it would be very difficult to encompass all of these multimodal interventions for medication adherence into one digital platform.
That's nice. It's nice to hear this from Saudi Arabia. And thank you, our three speakers, for your input. I have two notes to make out. First, for our attendees, if they are interested in getting the CV for our speakers, they can go to the chat box. It's available there. And secondly, maybe we can I would like to pinpoint, there are two terminology in that respect. There is the adherence and there is the compliance. The adherence is for, like in Iran, for the tools to make it possible for the patient to get his medication, while the compliance is intended for the patient to take his medication regimen. So in total, if we're talking about adherence, the full picture, that would be okay. From the patient till the role of the pharmacist, that would be accepted. Maybe we have some time to go for questions. I don't know if we have questions from the chat box to get to our speakers, or maybe let me pose one question to Dr. Akbar and another to Dr. Ahmad. Having all these applications, I understand in Saudi Arabia, is it the whole country, the whole Saudis are governed by this service? And did the government run kind of to evaluate the role of these tools to make health better and safer for the patients?
That's a very good question, Dr. Samira. So yes, the access to the Saudi FDA app is available for everybody. You can actually access it whether you are a citizen, a visitor, an expatriate. You don't have to have a certain login other than an email and a password. And you can actually, depending on which healthcare system you get treated at, you get different apps. So there is no uniformity in terms of a standardized, interoperable app that speaks to all different electronic health records in Saudi Arabia. And we're working on one, we call it the National Electronic Medical Record, NAFIS. And this system, hopefully, once it's mature, we could link these electronic applications to that particular system where we can get the medication profile of patients, the patient demographics, and many others in order to have a comprehensive medication profile. The second question was about, I forgot, Malish, Dr. Samira. You asked whether everybody can access it.
Yes, and do pharmacies have the patient file?
Yes. Okay. So you asked whether we have assessed the success of these programs. There have been some studies that have been published recently in Saudi Arabia, looking at different modalities of interventions for improving patient adherence. However, I'm not aware of any study currently, and this is a good idea for some of our Saudi pharmacists to go and conduct a study to evaluate the success or the impact of introducing such electronic platform.
Thank you. What about Iran, Dr. Akbar? Did you evaluate, did you monitor these applications and its positive or negative effect? And how can you improve it?
In Iran, we have some NGOs, syndicates, and societies that the private applications are regulated by them. Here, we try to separate the execution of the application from the government. We prefer the private sector to promote these applications. And we change the level of government as just a regulator and maybe an infrastructure developer. Then these societies evaluate applications and they get some feedback from the patients, from the pharmacists, from all stakeholders in the market and in the supply chain. But I think the number of the application is the problem here. Patients encounter many sources for goods and services provider, and sometimes the problem is selecting between these applications. And the other thing is the challenges between traditional supply chain. For example, physicians, pharmacists are in the against in the applications that want to deliver the medicine with lower margins and maybe costs for the patients. And we have two sides of a problem here. One is in the side of supply chain that maybe it's against some digital platforms, and in a side of patients to select between them.
All right, thank you. If you allow me, Dr. Saleh, I think KHCC are using kind of applications for their patients. KHCC is King Hussein Cancer Center. They already, yes, and even the RMS, they have started to implement, but it's more on the governmental part. We have, because two markets, the government and the private market. Farah or Mishkat, do we have any questions coming from the audience?
Thank you, Dr. Samira. We have one question in the Q&A box, but perhaps we can take this offline.
After?
All time, right. Yeah, we can address it.
Okay. Now, our second questions will go to barriers and challenges. What are the national barriers to integrate and mobilize digital health interventions and approaches in pharmaceutical care to support medication adherence? Anyone can start if you like.
I can start.
Okay.
Actually, there are multiple challenges, and I would like to think of these challenges as areas for improvement and opportunities to improve patient adherence. One of the, thank God we don't have certain challenges here in Saudi Arabia regarding, for example, inability to afford medications, because we have a unified healthcare system similar to the European countries where the government actually provides healthcare system. We do also have an insurance market in the private sector, but again, that's not a major issue. We don't have issues with regards to adoption of technology. The adoption of technology here in Saudi Arabia is really huge. We have one of the highest rates of using social media, access to internet, connectivity at homes. So that's not a major issue. But we do have issues regarding lifestyle and accessibility to the healthcare when it comes to having multiple providers sometimes providing the care to a patient and not having one unified electronic health records where all of these providers can have access to a unified medication profile. This actually can lead to multiple medication errors and can cause the patient to not to be adherent to their medications. So let me give you an example. Sometimes the patient is followed at their nearest primary healthcare center at home, closer to their home, but also they follow up with a specialist in the hospital. And if they have diabetes, let's say acute coronary heart disease, and they are prescribed these medications, if they go for refills in the primary healthcare center, the GP or general practitioner might not have the full access to their medication profile. If there has been a change by their specialists in the hospital, it wouldn't be reflected in the system, in their primary healthcare system. Now, to add insult to injury, we have issue in the retail pharmacy, where we do not have a unified health, electronic system that is connected with all healthcare providers. So we rely a lot on the attention and the educational level of the patient in order to compare and contrast and to make sure that they're taking the same medication. Sometimes they get prescribed two different generics of the same medication. And this, because there is no unified electronic system, it's very difficult to catch by the pharmacists when dispensing their medications. Again, I think this is the main challenge we have. We don't have other issues that are available in the West, for example, in terms of family support, caregivers. I think we don't have issues here in the region, but we do have different types of issues.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Yes, anyone would like to comment? Salah?
Yeah, Dr. Akbar, if you want.
Please.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so definitely, Dr. Samira, when you mentioned about the KHCC, when you mentioned about the MOH now, and even the DRMS, which is our Army medical department. Even all the let's say the private sector, all now adopted the digitization, as the previous speaker mentioned. But how the difference between Jordan and Saudi Arabia is we don't have one. This is the first challenge. We don't have one national entity that is driving this. Unfortunately, initiatives are everywhere in Jordan, and not even only in the let's say medical health sector. It's in all the sectors, by the way, in Jordan. And we are having a good, let's say, infrastructure. It's not excellent. It's good infrastructure for the innovation and entrepreneurship, and even for the technology and the internet access. And we are one of the good internet providers in the region. But if I may go deeply, I just summarized the 4 main challenges and barriers now to help in the let's say in the medical adherence innovation. So the first and the important thing is that we are reactive. Our laws are reactive, okay, and not proactive, unfortunately, like some of the other countries. Our laws and regulations regarding the medical health and even regarding the speed technology that we are facing is reactive, and even sometimes it's blocking some of the let's say succeeding and helping more initiatives to come alive. The second thing is the funding abilities, because these technologies or these innovation needs a little bit of funding, despite we have a lot of if I may say it, enablers, incubators and accelerators for other sectors, but we are poor in the area of the medical and healthcare sector. If I may also add the third challenge, which is the education. In our universities, unfortunately, we are still teaching if I may say it, the traditional pharmacy, which is good, and that's what we need. But the world is changing. Pharmacy is also changing. Definitely, we have to integrate, as we are saying, integrating. We need to integrate the new technology and the aspects. Pharmacists need now to understand the new directions and the new scopes of the changing world. And the last and not the least, to have one national entity, maybe led by the Pharmacist Association, maybe by the Ministry of Health, to lead all those initiatives, okay, and have it once. Now we have in Jordan something called, we were pioneers, like the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. They started to do something called the digital ID. So they are starting to have the first digital ID for all Jordanians, to have anything, including it under it, like the medical record, anything else. So it's a good initiative, but still, again, we are moving in a baby steps. We need to accelerate this, and we need to be proactive, not reactive.
Thank you very much. Dr. Akbar?
I want to divide the challenges in Iran in two sides. First, in a patient perspective, this huge information increase the rate of self-medication, and maybe this is a problem in our country, because usually patients think they can check a site and order medicine in the website or on any application, and bypass the health system. This is one challenge in the perspective of patients. The other challenges in the side of Ministry of Health and maybe health system is the communication between applications. We need some standards to communicate, data communicate between applications. And the other problem, maybe challenges that we have here is the economic of digital health, because they change the market. They promote the cost from the health system to the digital system. And at the present time, we have some new stakeholders, for example, the Ministry of Communication, Ministry of some other ministries that involve in communication systems in the country. And maybe this challenge, there are some challenges between the health system and this newcomer in the health system.
Thank you so much. I think in general, regarding Jordan, The cost is the major drawback for not implementing digital health. Anyway, we move to our third question, which are the drivers. What are the enablers and drivers to integrate and mobilize digital health interventions and approaches in pharmaceutical care services to support medication adherence? Any?
I can start as well. Okay, so I think changing the mentality of policymakers and let's say health executives when it comes to providing a value-based care versus making sure that you minimize the cost or the expenditure of healthcare. It's very important to move away from focusing on the cost to focusing on the value that the technology provides. So by providing digital solutions to help improve patient adherence, you could actually reduce the overall healthcare expenditure in the long term. And the literature is very clear about this. There have been multiple studies showing that introducing multimodal applications to improve patient adherence would result in reducing readmission to the hospital, decrease admission to the hospital secondary to adverse drug reactions, increase or improve the average length of stay or shorten it, and also decrease morbidity, which all result in increased health expenditure. So by tackling this particular issue, you could actually make an investment in digital solutions in order to prevent loss and inefficiencies in the healthcare system and decrease healthcare expenditure in the long run. So I think this is extremely important. There has to be realization at the top. And then the second thing is recognition of pharmacists, physicians, nurses, and other healthcare providers that these digital solutions are not there to replace them. These digital solutions are there to help them improve their work, to make them focus on patient care rather than focusing on technical aspects that almost anybody can do if they receive few months of training. It's very important for pharmacists to realize that these digital solutions are enablers for them to improve medication therapy management to patients and reduce adverse drug reactions and medication-related errors and medication-related problems.
And better safety and health for the community at large. Just one driver, if you have something different to talk about, Dr. Akbar, and the same for Saleh, because we're running short of time. Dr. Akbar?
I just want to say, again, insist on the standards. Maybe some international or regional agencies such as FIP, such as other organizations, could establish some standards and some maybe models for the, for example, for developing countries, because I think for GMP, for example, in pharmaceutical system, we have many standards from many international societies. And for e-health, we haven't some, in a health organization, we have such a thing. I think it could be helped.
Thank you. What about you, Saleh?
Yeah,
yes.
In a quick note, it's only quickly the collaboration of the government with the private sector and the non-GOs, because it's not one decision. Digital health is part of the big GDP, and Jordan is one of the excellent countries regarding the health sector. So updating and optimizing the regulations, building innovation hubs in this area will accelerate the medical adherence and even the healthcare excellency in all Jordan and even in the region. So this is briefly.
Thank you, Saleh. And with this, we conclude our first theme. Thank you so much, our panelists, for your valuable input. And now, let me hand it over to Mishkat. Or still we have, yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Samira, and all the speakers for the very great panel we had. Right now, we will have a very quick engagement activity to see what is the challenge, the main challenge to implement digital health in pharmaceutical care in EMR region from our attendees' perspective. So please, next slide. Okay. About the options. First option is lack of regulations, regulatory model, policies, and strategies. It means that lack of regulations to ensure safe and effective use of digital health. Do you think it can be a main challenge? Or the second one is economical and financial concerns, which we meant by this is the cost for digital health. Implementation is high and that the funding sources are not enough for that. The third option is about patient confidentiality risk and safety, risk regarding patient info security, and that's a very major concern. The fourth one is variable technology literacy and accessibility in community. What we meant by this is patients' technology literacy varies. Not all communities know how to use or have actually to access to technology. And the fifth option is lack of professional learning and training for pharmacists in digital health. The lack of professional learning development and actually the lack of knowledge in pharmacies. The sixth one is a lack of evaluation mechanisms and monitoring of digital services. As you know, a lack of monitoring tools and mechanisms to evaluate the digital health and its effect is very important actually. And the last option is a lack of interoperability of systems to work with other systems, as our panelists mentioned. Fragmented systems, no collaboration with other systems, no effective communication. These are the 7 options that you can choose, and please go ahead. Tell us what you think is the main challenge to implement digital health in pharmaceutical care services in our region, Eastern Mediterranean region. Okay, here it is. So as you can see here, the first one is the lack of regulatory models, policies, and strategies are the main challenges. And yeah, it's actually competing with the second options, economical and financial concerns, which is very interesting. Okay, and I guess that we finished the poll. Thank you. I now hand over to Dr. Samira for the second theme and our lectures.
Thank you, Mishkat. Now we move to our second theme, which covers the digital health to fight substandard medication. With us, we're having a new speaker from, again, Jordan, Dr. Ali Alimat, Jordan Pharmacists Association. He's head of something I can't see, and drug stores inspection control department at JFDA, Jordan Food and Drug Administration. Yes, Dr. Ali, can you hear? In this theme, we're not going to work on questions and answers. We're going to listen to some slides presented by our speakers, 3 speakers again. Dr. Ali.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. For the position, Dr. Samira, it would be Head of Community Pharmacies and Drug Stores Inspection Section.
Okay.
Yes, and I would like, first of all, to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me here today. I'm here today to present the current and ongoing digital health applications to fight substandard and falsified medicines, which is an international challenge faced by almost all health authorities.
I'm sorry, Ali, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm here today to present the current and ongoing digital health applications to fight substandard and falsified medications, which would be an international challenge to almost all health authorities and healthcare providers. And according to WHO, there is no countries remain untouched by this issue. It was an issue for developing and low-income country, but now it's become an international problem or challenge facing even developed countries. For the presentation or the mini presentation, I would give a brief overview on the currently implemented digital system in Jordan and the ongoing one, which would be the 2-dimension data matrix and serialization. For the current one, there would be 2 digital health applications to fight substandard and falsified medicines. The first one would be the Drug Product Information System, which is an open access database, including all relevant information about drug products approved by Jordan Food and Drug Administration. This open access database includes the relevant information about the drug product, including but not limited to the 1-dimension linear barcode, the ATC code, the country of origin, and the accredited manufacturing site. And this would be used as a tool for like manual verification by pharmacists and other healthcare providers and even patients to make sure that the drug product they are using is an approved drug product. Sometimes a lot of illegally imported drug products coming from unaccredited manufacturing site. And as this database is an open access for all pharmacists, healthcare providers, and even patients, as I mentioned, this would decrease the use of substandard product to be specific. The second one would be
from Dr. Ali. Hello, Dr. Ali.
Samira, if I may, I think Dr. Ali is facing a technical issue, so perhaps...
Right, we can move to our second speaker, Dr. Akbar. But in short, please, because we're running short of time, Dr. Akbar.
Okay, thank you. I want to explain some topics about the tracing, tracking, and authentication system that run in Iran for managing the supply chain. Next slide, please. This system started in a private sector, maybe in 2006, for managing subsidization, because the Ministry of Health subsidized some medicine in special diseases and need to track the subsidy. But this system improved and goes for managing the shortage, improve the access. And in 2008, we have a problem for counterfeit Plavix in all around the market. And we switched this system to managing the counterfeit medicine in the system. And smuggling, supply chain monitoring, and nowadays this system goes for e-health project. Next slide, please. If I want to show a small picture from our supply chain, we have a system that get data from all around the supply chain, from the production side, from the importations, and at the end of line of production or the customs for importation, we have serialization, and all among the distribution system pharmacies, we gather the data from transaction of the medicines. This central system have some transaction with the Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Welfare for insurance system, Ministry of Finance for custom systems. And this system are connected to the hospital HIS and PIS in pharmacies. Next slide, please. The barrier that we have to run this system is sometimes is bigger than the running the system. Laws and regulation. The pharmaceutical law in Iran is belong to 60 years ago, and we can't easily change it. The contracts between the private sector as a supporter of this system with the government is the other problem that we have. Convincing stakeholders, distributors, pharmacies have very resistancy to implement a new system. IT infrastructure, we have many of problem here because of data transaction and even sanction. We can't use many of global services here in Iran because of sanctions. Authorities and information securities, because many companies don't want to declare their systems, their data, and we need some system to secure their data. Adopting this the internal process for Iran FDA. They have many of standards for registering of medicines, and we have to cope with them. We need many of standards for packaging, API systems to register the data. Because of maybe a problem in infrastructure, we need a system to can work in offline. For example, in Turkey, we have a system that work online, and here in Iran, we have many of problem in internet connection, and we need to adopt this offline system. And we developed some system for e-release to activate the codes and attaching and merging these e-systems with the normal system of companies and stakeholders. Training and promotion of the system is the other barrier that we had. Next slide, please. In Iran, we adopt the tracing tracking system with other things because we are not sure about the close supply chain. The usual to the market, to the barcode that used in the medicines is useful for closed supply chain. But here we have, we know that we have some problem in closeness of the system. We attach on the medicines some scratch labels that the end user can scratch the label and check the identity of the medicine with the central system. We have a monitoring system that every patient, every users that check this number in a map, we can follow him, and the authority and authenticate the validity of the medicines. Next slide, please. Next. I forget to eliminate the animation. Okay. We had some barriers from the side of stakeholders. Importers, usually they need to open package and attach the labels to the market, or maybe the new labels. For domestic producer, we have problems that they never think that they may be counter with the counterfeit medicines. They believe that the counterfeit problem is for imported medicine, not locally produced. Distributors and pharmacies need to change the software, the workflow. Patients and consumers encountered with system complexity and time-consuming system for checking the validity of medicines. Smugglers and counterfeiters even have a problem with this system, actually. For all stakeholders, we have problem. Usually, stakeholders don't to clarify their data. The main problem is for clarification of data, extra cost, and resistance to change. These three are the main problem in running TTAC, tracing tracking in Iran. And next, I think this is the last. Okay, I think these slides in a summary show the supply chain in Iran and how a tracing tracking system run for battling the counterfeit medicines. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar. Is Dr. Ali back, or we can't reach him?
Yes, Dr. Samira.
All right.
Sorry,
okay, no problem.
With the connection.
Go ahead, but very quickly, please.
Yes, the second currently implemented system would be a good storage and distribution practice regulation, the latest revision 2018. And according to this regulation, all the drug warehouses are enforced to use valid electronic systems for stock control and management. And this would prevent substandard products from entering the supply chain and reaching the patient. Also, according to this regulation, drug warehouses are enforced to use valid electronic system for temperature and humidity monitor and or control, and this way would ensure a proper drug storage condition during storage and distribution. And this valid electronic system would give an alarm to the pharmacist in charge in the drug warehouse, and sometimes may take an action for the or in the case if there is an excursion for the predefined storage condition. Next, Dr. Samira, please. Also, the last the last digital thing associated with good storage and distribution practices regulation. Also, drug warehouses are enforced to use valid electronic systems for shipment tracking. Next, please, Doctor. Yes, and while the application in previous slides deal with the whole patch or lot of the pharmaceutical product produced, a two-dimension data matrix and serialization is a tool for tracking and tracing every saleable piece of the drug product through the supply chain from the manufacturing. Till reaching the patient, and as the figure illustrates, the basic supply chain. Next slide, please, Doctora. And for the Jordan FDA experience with two-dimension data matrix and serialization, Jordan FDA has been working on it since 2016. After the revolution of data and barcoding worldwide, After doing workshops with all relevant agencies, importer and manufacturer in Jordan, a circular has been issued for the adoption of the international GS1 data matrix to be implemented on all pharmaceutical products instead of the linear one-dimension barcode, and it's been mandatory. Actually, it was supposed that we implement this system in the middle of 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we would be in the last step, building the blockchain hub for the system. Next slide, please, Doctor. The barriers and challenge for all digital health system, I would customize it for the challenge and barriers we faced during the development and implementation of the two-dimension data matrix and serialization. First of them would be the cost, and additional cost would be one of the barriers and challenge, because all community pharmacists are required to develop their electronic softwares. Also for the local manufacturers in terms of required machines for 2D data matrix coding. The second one would be a lack of harmonization, like some imported products, as the country of origin may has different guidelines for barcoding or did not ask for our required barcoding specification. The last barrier and challenge would be the adherence. All relevant parties must adhere to the implementation of this system to maintain and keep the data integrity. Next one, please. The drivers for Jordan would be increasing the patient safety by mostly fighting substandard and falsified medicines, improving the supply chain efficiency and inventory management, much precise and accurate tracing of pharmaceutical product. As I mentioned, it would be for every sellable piece of a product, not for a whole patch or lot. Would ensure effective fast recall system of the medicinal products and cost saving by means of capture technology, electronic storage and transmission of data. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Dr. Samir.
Dr. Ahmed, for the very informative presentation. And now we move to our third speaker, ختامها مسك. Dr. Ahmed, we'll come to you and how you deal with it in Saudi Arabia. Please go on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samira. I would like to thank both speakers for making my life easier, because I'm going to address some of the points that they have already talked about. Let's start from the beginning. Let's understand the importance of the substandard and suboptimal medications in the overall healthcare system. Now, we have two main issues with these suboptimal and substandard medications. Number one is affecting patient health by either causing adverse drug reactions, toxicity, or by causing inefficiency or ineffectiveness. On the other hand, we have issue that is an economic issue. If we look at the global healthcare expenditure, which is around $8 trillion US, based on the 2016 Global Healthcare Expenditure report, we can see that 20 to 40% of the $8 trillion US are lost due to inefficiencies. Now, there are multiple reasons for inefficiencies. One of them is related to the healthcare system, and another one is related to technologies, including medications. But if we look closer, we can see that medicine, the use of substandard and counterfeit medications account for a significant portion of the ineffectiveness or inefficiency. Next. Now, governments have actually moved from what they call business excellence in the past to, in order to improve or reduce inefficiencies to improve patient care in order to prepare for future trends. So now we have multiple levels of business excellence, including technology excellence, and we talked about the role of technology in patient adherence in the first segment of this event, and then the operational excellence, and then the clinical or the care excellence. But when we really want to focus on the overall patient care, we really have to look at the service excellence, which includes efficiency of engagement, the continuity of engagement, improving in patient expectations, and increasing the human capital capabilities. Now, within these this paradigm shift from business excellence to patient care and service excellence, the healthcare systems have moved throughout different trends, from financial sustainability to emphasis on technology and data, until we reach the evaluation of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Why I talk about this? Next slide, please. It's because all of these are extremely important for any healthcare transformational journey. And there are multiple key domains for any successful healthcare transformation, including healthcare system governance, healthcare financing, workforce, medicines and technology, and finally the service delivery. And when we look at the medicines technology, which is a very important domain for successful transformation, we really are looking for cost-effective and safe medications that are used in a rational way to deliver and to optimize medication therapy management to our patients. And this would include multiple things in terms of registration by regulators, such as the Food and Drug authorities, European medicine agencies, and many other regulators in the world, to weighing the benefit of efficacy versus side effects, to weighing the benefit of the overall quality of the medication that includes both safety and efficacy, with the overall cost, or what we call the value or economic evaluation of these medications, to making sure that we do have quality medications that should not cause any issues to our patients. We assure the availability of quality medications by fighting or developing mechanisms to fight counterfeit and substandard medications. Next. Now, according to the World Health Organization, a new incidence of substandard and falsified medicinal product is discovered every week. And when we say an incident, we're not talking a patient incident. We're talking about a country incident of a major outbreak of falsified or substandard medications. Now, despite that this affects all countries without an exception, it's more seen in Asia, Latin America, and China. And 50% of the medications purchased worldwide from illegal internet pharmacy store are actually falsified. Up to 1 in 10 medicinal products in low or middle income countries is substandard or falsified. The problem with this is that they are not, we don't receive only counterfeit medications or substandard medications in relatively safe medications or less important medications, such as, you know, antihistamines and let's say symptomatic agents for symptomatic treatment. But we're talking about very life-saving medications, antibiotics, antimalarials, and actually life-saving medications in the intensive care unit. And this actually puts a lot of emphasis on the magnitude of such issue. Now, a recent study that was published in the American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene found that 50% of all counterfeit medications were detected in the legitimate supply chain. So we do have ways to prevent counterfeit and substandard medications, but they do not capture everything, unfortunately. Next. Now, there are multiple ways, similar to what my colleagues have talked about. The use of data matrix, as mentioned by Dr. Ali, is the best option compared to other data carriers, such as RFID. Usually, it starts from the manufacturer to track these medications and what we call the life cycle of the medication throughout the value chain or the supply chain, from manufacturing until dispensation. Next. In Saudi Arabia, we do have a system, a national system developed by Saudi Food and Drug Authority, introduced a system called RUSD, RSD, which is a tracking and tracing electronic system that depends on serialization and aggregation, followed by tracking and tracing throughout transportation until the time where the medication is published the medication is dispensed by the pharmacy. Now, throughout these processes, this data matrix needs to be scanned, and PSID code of serialization is requested and gets generated and feeds the central repository of our RUSD system. There is a continuous real-time synchronization between the data that are received from manufacturers, wholesalers, pharmacies, until the point of dispensing. Finally, verification is completed through web, mobile apps, or short messaging system or text messages. Next. Now, advanced track and trace systems in the future are going to be based on blockchain with deployed technology and artificial intelligence, where we do have a complete end-to-end tracking with real-time monitoring, proven technology that cannot be messed, cannot be falsified, cannot be changed, and encrypted. Also with integration of machine learning and artificial intelligence in order to come up with predictive analytics to identify through the blockchain technology and artificial intelligence any deviation throughout the life cycle of the product. With this, I end my talk, and I would love to welcome any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. And Dr. Samira, if you're here.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Akbar, and Dr. Ali for the very informative information you put in your slides. I would like to thank you all for sharing these two themes. And I'm sure that the output of these two themes, which were very constructive and positive, covering the 3 countries in the region, will be utilized definitely by FIP upon preparing their final report. Again, thank you so much, and hope to see you some other activities as well within FIP. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's to you, Mishkat.
Thank you, Dr. Samira. Thank you. About this session, I would like to thank all the speakers and panelists. As a summary, we had this problem all over these 3 countries about lack of communication with different applications. There were too little or too much applications for patient adherence, which were not comprehensive, and somehow lack of budgeting in digital health was an issue as well. Another problem was that we have from the healthcare perspective, the resistance to change and to use digital platforms, and patients receiving too many information from websites, or they don't have enough knowledge to use technology and digital health to to utilize it actually for their medication adherence. And for the second theme, we've seen very practical initiatives, ongoing initiatives in all the countries for tracking, tracing, and also authentication, control, and monitoring the products. So we have some minor issues about the laws and regulations, and also infrastructure, and again funding. And I think that for short is the summary of all the lectures and the notes. If you have anything to add, please go ahead, Dr. Samira, and complete.
You have already said what is needed to be said, Mishkat. I think, unless we have some questions from the floor for our speakers, any question?
Dr. Samira, we do have some questions.
Please go ahead, state it.
However, I think our speakers already addressed these questions.
Right.
I'm not sure. We can ask our speakers. Would anyone like to answer or address any of these questions live? We do have 5 minutes.
Or to add any remark regarding this activity, you're more than welcome. The 4 speakers are welcome to do that. We have like 5 minutes to end our activity.
If we don't, Dr. Samira, then we're happy to move to the next slide. We will be following up before we launch the report.
Before we closing, I would like just to share with you our big event, the giant event of FIP, which always takes place in September. For the last 2 years, because of Corona, we were online, seeing each other, talking, discussing. And this time in September, starting the 18th till the 22nd of September, we'll meet in Seville, Spain, under the theme Pharmacy United in the Recovering of Healthcare. We'd love to see you all in Spain to do more networking, socializing, and getting to see you all there during September. Take care and have a good day by the end.
Thank you, Dr. Samira. I would like to actually announce another event by FIP, Pharmacy Practice Research Specialist Interest Group Summer Meeting, which will be held in person in 4 and 5 of July 2022. And all these PhD students and their supervisor, researchers, professional organizations, and practitioners in research are welcome to join to this meeting. Do not forget to register before 13th of June. And if you would like to attend all the future FIP events online, you can visit our website, events.fip.org. And thank you again for your attendance. Thank you all the speakers, and Dr. Samira and Farah and Hamza from the background. Actually, Shirley.
Thank you so much. Mishkat, if I may ask all the speakers to open their cameras and just give a goodbye wave to our audience. Thank you very much, our speakers, and thank you, Dr. Samira and Mishkat. Ma'a salame.
Thank you, FIP. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.